what I'd like to do is create a block which will add new items to my list but maintain the alphabetical order of my list. So you'll notice that right now the list is in correct alphabetical order, A, B, C, L, P, whatever. It's alphabetized correctly. When I add grapes, and I can actually do that right now, I will click Insert Grapes in Order in Foods. You can see that grapes goes in the correct place alphabetically, after C and before L. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, yes, that works, and so forth. So how did I do that? Well, we're going to take a look at that block in just a second, but before I do that, there's one thing that I don't know if we've really talked about before is how do you figure out if something comes before or after something else alphabetically? Well, you just use these greater than or less than blocks. They will return, of course, true or false, and they will tell you if something is greater or less alphabetically. You know that works with numbers, of course. So if I say something like 2 less than 5, if I click this, it says true. You can also do it with words. If I say, is pizza less than apples? Well, pizza is definitely not less than apples, it's greater than apples. But what does less than or greater than mean in terms of the alphabet? Greater than means it's closer to the end of the alphabet, closer to Z. Less than means it's closer to A, it's farther up to A. So is apples, or is pizza, I should say, less than apples? No, pizza is farther down the alphabet, it's greater. So when I run this guy, it says false. Pizza is not less than apples, it's in fact greater than. So I hope that's clear. So let's do it the other way around. Let's use the greater than. If I say, is pizza greater than apples? Of course the answer is going to be yes. And in so many ways pizza is greater than apples, but alphabetically it's true as well. Pizza is farther down the alphabet, closer to Z. So if I run this, it says true. And I could actually say, is pizza greater than, I don't know, zoo animals? Do anything. That's false. Pizza is not greater than zoo animals. Zoo animals are farther down the alphabet. So you're thinking, well, how is that going to help me with figuring out where to put something in the list alphabetically? Well, let me start again. I reset my list. So here's the basic idea. I want to insert grapes into the correct place in foods. Really, all I have to do is read through my entire list, and every time I see that grapes is greater than some item, I want to check the next position. So I'm going to assume, say for example, I'm going to assume that grapes goes at position 1. Well, now I'm going to check it. Is it greater than the thing at position 1? It is. So now I'm going to assume that it goes at position 2. Is it greater than the thing at position 2? It is. So I guess I'm going to assume it's at position 3. Is it greater than the thing at position 3? Yes. So maybe I'm going to assume it's at position 4. Is it greater than the thing at position 4? No. So I'm going to insert it at position 4, and everything gets pushed down the list, as you know. So let's take a look at it. Maybe it'll be a little bit more clear. I'll edit this guy. And you can see that I've made a script variable called place that remembers what place I'm supposed to stick it in the list. And I'm assuming, or I'm setting place to 1 initially. In other words, at the beginning, we're saying, okay, the correct place to put the item is at position 1. The place is 1. And then I made a for loop that goes through the entire length of the list, goes through the entire list, and it checks to see if the item that I want to insert is greater than item I of the list. So it goes through the list. Is the thing that I want to insert greater than avocado? If it is, then I'm going to set the place to I plus 1. In other words, I'm setting it to 2 now. And then the for loop repeats. You know how for loops work. Is the item greater than the next item in the list? Is it greater than banana? If it is, I'm going to set place to I plus 1. So this keeps setting place to I plus 1 until the item is no longer greater than the item in the list. I know this seems a little weird, so you might have to give it some thought. If you want to pause the video here for a moment and really think about what's happening, that's fine. Did you do that? All right. So every time the item is greater than the item in the list, it sets place to I plus 1. Finally, at some point, the item is no longer greater than the item in the list, and it no longer increments I, no longer changes the value of I. So it goes through the entire list, and then finally it falls out of this for loop after it's checked everything in the list, and it inserts the item at whatever place is at that point in time in the list. I know this is tricky. Again, give it some thought, and I'll run the other ones just so you can see it's working. I can insert Apple, inserts it at the beginning. I can insert spam. Who doesn't love spam? And it inserts it correctly at the end. It's after P. You know, that's also a good idea. It's no accident that I tested these three things. Grapes is somewhere in the middle. Apple was at the beginning. Spam at the end. When you're testing your code, it's very important to test these corner cases, they're called. Things that happen at the beginning and end, not just stuff in the middle. So there you go. This is a little bit tricky. I'm going to keep it open there for a little bit in case you want to really study that. But you're going to need to have some idea of how this works to keep going for the next bunch of projects. So I'm here to help you out. All right, get to work.